Hello, Dave here. This MiniMorsel, master of your WordPress domain, shared hosting, lessons learned. And in this little morsel, I'd like to cover some tools, the cPanel, Notepad++, and FileZilla, uh, your index page and 404 error page, touch on that for a brief moment, doing a temporary redirect via an index.html, going ahead and doing the redirect via htaccess, and finally mention some subdomains. So let's get started. First thing we get is an account. And I went ahead and purchased a shared hosting account with justhost.com. My domain name is ymenusolutions.com. And I now have the ability to log in to my very own account. And we'll notice here is the standard cPanel. From what I hear, this is the most popular. I've seen a few shared hosting accounts with a couple of different vendors, and they've all been cPanel that I've seen, but I know there's other things out there. So for this MiniMorsel, we're going to take a look at a couple of different areas. And we're going to take a look at File Manager and redirects. And we're going to look at the DNS Zone Manager and subdomains. We're not going to get into the databases, but that's the other most common. You'll notice here's the most common places I've been: File Manager and MySQL databases. Everything else is kind of cute. You'll notice there's the software and services and simple scripts. Basically, these are one click and get this software into my account. And for example, there's a very simple WordPress install here. And take a look at File Manager. And I'm going to start out at the home directory. Yes, so File Manager, wonderful tool, has a lot of options: create new files, new folders. Obviously, you can read across the top there. You can actually edit items. So this is what we got for our hosting account. We have a home directory, and within that we have public FTP. Now this is if you want to be an FTP host to the outside world. This is not FTP into your account. When you FTP in, you FTP into your home account. Then we have public HTML, and I'm just going after the guys with icons next to them, and www. www is really just a shortcut to public.html. So taking a look at this guy, right? We see there's some directories in here, some that I've created, and then some basic files. A .htaccess, very important file, and all these numbers here. Well, these are the error pages, and I've stripped out the index or default.php so that we can see what happens when I type my domain name. ymenusolutions.com. I hit enter. Oh, look at that. This is what it served up. Look at that. Index of. Does that look at all familiar to this here? One more time. Right? So it's just showing an index of my document root. So this public HTML is our document root, and that's what serves up pages to the outside world. And that's exactly what we're purchasing from this site. I type in wymanusolutions.com and it takes me to public.html. And that's all good. And there's the file manager. But let me bring up FileZilla here. And FileZilla.com, it's free software and it's FTP software. And it just makes doing these functions up at the top of the screen here, at least moving files back and forth from your own computer, a little easier. For example, if I come over here and I want to upload a file, okay, now I got to go choose the file, navigate the directories. It's very doable, very nice. Just easier with our friend FileZilla. And let me go ahead and disconnect. Right now I'm not connected to a remote site. This is where my site is going to be, and here's my home computer with the files that we're going to use today. So let's go ahead. This reconnects to the last server. And again, there's a server manager. And for example, here's my wymanusolutions. That's just what I named it because that's the name of the site. This is pretty much defaults except for logon type. You're not going to use the default of anonymous. You just use normal. And then you type in the username and password that came in your original sign up email. So that's it for creating a site. And let me bring that up again, and I can just connect from here. It does a connection, and look at that. There is my root directory, and root has multiple names. Remember, we have a root, so there's the root, and it's just the top level. The top level of my home directory is here. See, everything is underneath there. You can see with this line here, everything is underneath, so that's the root. Well, this public.html, that's your document root, and everything underneath it is visible to the outside world. All right, and here's some other sites. So I showed that. Here's what happens if I just go to wymanusolutions.com. Well, I do have a couple of other sites out there. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. I'll bring this guy up again just so we can see. And let me navigate to public.html. And here's a couple of the sites, right? And I'm going to look at this Drupal site, this WordPress site, and this wiki site. And again, I just barely installed them and using them for testing purposes. But let's go ahead and start with the WordPress site, theme dev 1. So I can navigate to theme dev 1. And here's that WordPress site. Let's go back. And they are right here, so I can just see them because this is an index. And I could do WS Drupal. And it brings up another site. Again, there's nothing in here yet, just for fun. And the other one is this WS Wiki. And it comes up with this wiki site. Yay, that's all well and good. Let's get rid of that, come back to here, and do something about this index of, right? And basically that's an index page. So going back to our handy dandy FileZilla, I have an index.html here. Let me just show you what that looks like. And I just have that open in Notepad++, right? And it's pointing to this directory structure, which is the same as this directory structure here. And I have an index page and it's basically going to give us some information and put some links out there for us to use. So let's go ahead and take this index.html and FTP it to our site. That was pretty simple. And if I come back to my file manager and refresh, where the heck's that? Oh, here's the reload. And now you'll see that there's an index.html file right there. So now let's go to MiniMorsel.com. And because it's named index.html, that's one of the defaults. There are a couple of other ones. You'll have to look that up. And here's a page. And again, I just put links out here to those 3 sites we just saw. And these 2 are subdomains. And that's my WordPress site. But let's take that a step further. If I do YMNewsSolutions.com/XYZ, we get a not found. That's because that page does not exist. So it's called a 404 not found error. So over here I have a 404.shtml, and that's the naming convention. This is part of your Apache definition. So your hosting company, I basically just use the same name that came up doing this in test mode with the hosting company. It just comes up with their page that says, hey, page not found. Look for it here with their advertisements. And I'm like, I don't really need their advertisements. Not that I have anything against them. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at what that page is. Bring up my Notepad++ again. And here's my 404. And basically it's the same, only it's called a 404 page. And I used a different background color. But anyway, let's go ahead and move that over. All right, so now I have my 404 page in there. And instead of XYZ, let's just do KKJJL. And there's the 404 page. So the idea is gracefully handling errors on your site is important, and I just wanted you to see what this looks like. Now, instead of going to this index page here that gives a choice, which is very nice, a choice, and again, we can pop on any of these links and it brings up our site happily. What if I wanted to just automatically redirect a person to a new location? For example, you're taking a site down, you're moving something, you're switching domain names, whatever it might be. You can just automatically redirect them with this redirect code right here. And notice that it is doing this refresh. So that's what makes it happen without having to make them click a link here. See, this page is going to wait until the visitor does something. So it's going to refresh. I went ahead and gave it 10 seconds so it'll stay up on the screen long enough for me to talk about it. You can have that 0, why wait, or why keep your visitor waiting is the idea, and then where is it going to go? And I'm going to go ahead and send it to my WordPress site and just put some text up here so that we could see it for those 10 seconds. So let's go ahead and put this out on our site. First of all, we don't want this index anymore. I'm going to just delete it because I still have my copy over here. And let's go ahead and take our redirect index. And that's just what I have it named here, because you can't have 2 guys named the same thing, index.html. And we'll go ahead and rename that. All lowercase. Now it's renamed, ready to go. And let's refresh this page. And here it is. It's waiting for those 10 seconds. But anyway, just some silly text I put out there. And here we go. We've been redirected to our site. In fact, let's go ahead and take that 10 seconds off of there. Set that back to 0. Save that. Move it back over. See, this is the beauty of and the simplicity of FileZilla. Once you have this set up, right? You know, and I have this guy open. I can quickly move them back and forth. I know you could edit it out of cPanel here, but that seems a little clunkier to me. Use my own trusty navigator there. Sorry for flipping the screens back and forth. But anyway, I think I just moved that back over. I'm going to do it again. Just overwrite it. Let's delete the current index so I can rename it to that name. And we need index.html. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go back here and go back to our domain name. And that's how quick it is with the 0. All right, that was fun. Let's bring back our FileZilla here and let's return that to the static page. I'm going to delete that and return my index.html back over here. And verify, whoops, right, that it comes up to this static page. Perfectly nice page. And we're going to go back to cPanel here and do a real redirect. And what this does is this is how I would go ahead and say I want it to always go to that theme dev subdirectory. You know, let me bring this up for a second here. And this is just my style. I'm trying to figure out if it's better or worse, but I can't figure out a reason to actually put my WordPress site in public.html. There's only one of those. And I want to play around with different sites. So when I look around in here, well, I'm messing around with Drupal and Wiki and WordPress and whatever else, Site 6, another site that I'm working on, you know, whatever it is. I'm trying to figure things out. Got a bunch of sites going here. And if I have to keep on moving things in and out of public.html, not fun. But I can just redirect and make one site a main site. And that's why the next piece is subdomains. Another way is you can create subdomains for other sites, which I did for the Drupal and the Wiki site. And we're going to see that in a moment. So let's go ahead and come back here to our redirect. And again, just from cPanel. With all our pretty domain information here, I'm going to go to redirects, right? And you have a choice of a 301 permanent or a 302 temporary, right? It explains it up here someplace, or there's help somewhere. Anyway, the permanent will update bookmark links of your visitors, whereas the temporary won't. Not much of a difference, especially on a brand new site. But anyway, just to know that. Notice that I have those two subdomains there. I'll explain why they already exist in a moment. But anyway, I want anything for wymanusolutions.com to go to http : right? I just have it typed out there, but I need that http : wymanusolutions.com, our domain name, /themedev1, and that's my subdirectory. And I want it to redirect with or without the www. So it's basically saying if the request comes in with or without a www for wymanusolutions.com, go to this subdirectory. So let's add that redirect. And I'm just going to say go back, and it shows me that I have a current redirect and where it's pointing to. And if I come back here, right, this is what came up before that index page. Now if I refresh that, boom, it takes me right to this directory. No redirect, no delay. And the reason for that is because of this beautiful little guy called htaccess. And here, well, let me, you know what, let me bring it down again. Right, it was just updated. I'm going to bring this down. I have an old one that I was going to use. Oh, no, I didn't. That's just a text. That's from Drupal. Anyway, so now that I brought that down, I am going to edit it in Notepad++. And here it is. Here's the section. It's using this rewrite engine. And it's doing, this is basically if or additional condition, then do this. So it's calling it rewrite condition, and rewrite rule. But it's basically saying, ooh, the host of the URL coming in is anything wymanusolutions, escapecharacter.com. And you don't have to worry about this. I mean, that's the beauty of this redirect guy here. This little wizard is basically just formatting this command for us. And here's that 301, right? Remember from permanent. So anyway, so it's basically saying take anything to wymanusolutions.com themedev1. htaccess is in key directories and is powerful and worth knowing about. I'm still learning, but yeah, pay attention to htaccess. Okay, we did a redirect with htaccess. Let's talk subdomains. So I created two subdomains out here, right? I got Dave Drupal.wymanus, and that's subdomain there, right? Here's my, this is top level domain, tld.com, right? wymanusolutions is my domain name. And now I'm creating my own little subdomain. I just called it Dave Drupal, and that brings up my Drupal site. I also created a Dave Wiki. Whoops. I guess I got to spell it correctly. Dave Wiki. Ah, that's better. Okay, all well and good. And again, that is still being redirected by htaccess. You see how much quicker that is. But once again, so these subdomains, and I'm going to zip out of File Manager here. These subdomains And again, we have a great little wizard here for creating them. And I'll show you what they create. This is done through DNS, and it takes time to propagate. And that's just for all the different DNS servers to tell each other and let them know that that subdomain now exists out in the world. So that's why I went ahead and did these ahead of time. I'll go ahead and try to put one in here, but a good possibility that it won't work for a little while. And it could be a day, but generally it's much quicker than that. Anyway, I created Dave Drupal and Dave Wiki as we just saw. Here's the root domain, and here's the document root for those domains. So it's basically saying, oh, if it's all this, send them here, or send that visitor here. Okay, and I create a new one here, and I'm going to call this MM Drupal or MM WordPress, and I can send this to theme dev1, and I'll create it. So here it is. So what actually did that create? Let's go back to our seed panel for a moment. Give that guy a chance. Maybe it will propagate if I waste enough time here. And if you look at your DNS zone editor, and it's worth understanding your DNS world, but it creates an A record. Notice here's other records, MX for mail, a bunch of stuff. Anyway, putting these records out there, that beautiful little wizard does it for us. So here's Dave Wiki, here's MM WordPress, and it's out there, and it's doing all the stuff behind the scenes to point us to our page. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to try it over here. And if I go to MM WordPress dot, and I think it's here. All right, let's go back to Dave Drupal. All right, and MM WordPress. Right, takes us here. Basically the same as YMUSolutions.com. Now, you'll notice that probably the biggest disadvantage of these is that you have to type that extra stuff in front of your name. Right, so going to a subdomain, right, typing MM WordPress is worse than just having your .com name. So we took a look at subdomains, which is done via DNS, domain name system. Going back to cPanel here. We also did redirects. It does it through the .htaccess file. And that is a very powerful file and something worth reading up on, or I believe it is. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about it. And then we also played with our index. And if I come out here, index.html, right, I can still get to this page if I go directly to it. Right, and we also did 404.shtml, and we utilized FileZilla client, a wonderful client for getting your files in and out of your site. And again, cPanel. C for control. So here's where you can do things, everything on your site. And there's tons of other goofy options. Thank you very much for watching.